there's really not all that much going on in the world of recruiting. Much as I wish there were, much as I wish we weren't still sitting here on July 28th, awaiting a decision from Davian Gross, awaiting a decision from Jake Krell, awaiting decisions from the likes of T. Ron Richardson and Elijah Golden. That's basically where we are and have been, a holding pattern for the majority of the month with some of Oklahoma's key remaining targets in the 2026 recruiting cycle. There is one, I'm hesitant to even call him a target, one guy that had an Oklahoma offer that just came off the board today to the Tennessee Volunteers, Joel Wyatt, four-star athlete out of Bell Buckle, Tennessee, that Oklahoma made a late run at. They offered him in late June. They were looking to get him on campus for a fall official visit. It no longer appears that that will be the case after he locked in his verbal pledge to the Volunteers earlier today. I just got distracted because we have the SEC network on the studio TVs here, and they're running a video montage, and I just saw Bauer Sharp in an OU uniform, prominently featured in the montage. So,
hey!
The ghosts of days gone by. What a fever dream 2024 was. Glad those days are over.
Speaking of a fever dream, Deion Sanders announcing that he had a tumor removed in...
Yeah, what did you think of that?
In overalls and a cowboy hat.
What did you think of that whole... There was... I don't even know what you call it. Production? It's odd to me. It's odd to me to call a press conference to announce that you had a tumor removed from your bladder. Like, I'm happy he's doing okay. I think we all are.
Right.
But isn't that the type of thing you just kind of kick out to your beat reporters in a press release?
Well, it's the thing in terms of the press conference. It's the thing you do when you have to announce that you're stepping away for medical reasons.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was expecting to happen, not him to come out looking like a farmer and saying, yeah, I got some stuff out of my bladder removed. Good to go. Let's go play football. Kind of wasn't expecting that one.
He also said, and I quote, "I can't pee like I used to pee. I depend on depends."
Which is prime Deion Sanders. No pun intended. But that is vintage Deion Sanders.
It's SEC Team Takeover Day for Georgia here on the Ref. Presented by Landers CDJR. When you choose Landers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram of Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle, you're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. Landers CDJR, where community and commitment drive us forward. More than just a dealership, a proud member of the Norman community. Check them out at LandersCDJRNorman.com. The show brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Family-owned and operated, fantastic sales staff out there, great service technicians as well, half-price oil changes on Saturdays, and obviously they can get you set up with one of the most reliable trucks and or SUVs on the market, courtesy of GMC. So head out there to Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. We appreciate their partnership here on Locked In. So it's Georgia Takeover Day. Let's reminisce on some prominent OU Georgia recruiting battles. We have had a few of these in recent years. Anthony Evans immediately comes to mind, four-star wide receiver in the 2023 class that committed to Oklahoma initially, took a visit to Georgia, explained it away by saying, oh, it's just a trip my mom wants to take. She's a big Georgia fan, grew up there in Georgia, just going to go make sure she can see a game. And then you know what happens. You know how the story ends. He winds up flipping to Georgia, signed with the Dogs, played there for 2 years, transferred, I believe, to Mississippi State. Did he not? Isn't he at Mississippi State this fall? Anthony Evans? I'm almost certain. Anthony Evans is now at Mississippi State. He's a very Jeff Lebby type of receiver. So that would make a lot of sense.
You are correct.
Yep. Mississippi State Bulldog Anthony Evans. Jeff Lebby loves him some short, little, fast guys at the wide receiver position. That is Anthony Evans to a T. Joseph Jonah Ajonie, four-star defensive lineman in, I want to say that was the 2024 cycle, if I'm not mistaken. Heavy OU lean for a long, long time. Then he got the Georgia offer, and the Dogs closed quickly with him. PJ Adibaware. That's a guy that Oklahoma landed, but at the end of his process, it was OU, Georgia. There were a couple other schools involved as well. Northwestern, who obviously had his brother on campus at the time. I want to say he OV'd to Mizzou as well. Entertained the advances of LSU and several others, but it was mostly OU, Georgia for PJ. He did wind up a Sooner. What are your favorite OU, Georgia recruiting battles of the past? Let us know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. Glenn from Nashville says, Parker, this is the day and age of NIL. It's not another day, another dollar. It's another day, another $1 million. I hope that's true of me at some point. It is not currently.
Amen. Amen.
It may be true of some of us. It may certainly be true of some of the more prominent student athletes that play college football. It's certainly not true of me. The day I have $1 million in my bank account, well, let's just say it's a day that's a long, long way off. Nowhere close to it right now. Chris from Knoxville says, I was at the gym yesterday morning and randomly looked up to see the replay of last season's Red River. Does the SEC network want me to be angry? I can't answer that, Chris from Knoxville. But yeah, that was a pretty miserable Red River showdown. And unfortunately, if you're an Oklahoma fan, 2 out of the last 3 years, that has been the case.
What gym were you at that kept that game on? Because I know the gym where I work out at, if they saw that, they'd have been like, "No, we're gonna put something else on."
My gym doesn't have any TVs. Minimizing distractions.
Where do you work out at?
Just me and the weight bench, or weight rack, or squat rack. Me and a bunch of equipment.
What gym do you work out at?
Blanchard Fitness in Blanchard, Oklahoma.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's a quality little operation.
There you go.
No distractions whatsoever. I just get in, I pump some iron, I get out.
No TVs, no pop music going on.
Yeah, no music either. I mean, it's a 24/7 gym. So,
oh, nice.
You got your little key fob and you just buzz yourself in.
Nice.
And
solid.
So, yeah, I'll go there at all hours. Usually, I'm the only one there.
A texter on the 405 says, Brock Vandegrift is a great OU Georgia recruiting
Boy,
battle.
That's a good one. Brock Vandegrift. Man, that's a crazy butterfly effect, too. Because Caleb Williams never comes to the University of Oklahoma if Brock Vandegrift doesn't flip to Georgia. I don't care what Carl Williams has said about we were going to walk on at OU even if Vandegrift was there. No, they weren't going to do that. I don't believe that they were going to choose to pay their own way at Oklahoma rather than accept any of the other very, very high-profile scholarship offers that Caleb Williams had elsewhere. But Brock Vandegrift, in January of 2020, decommitted from Oklahoma, flipped to Georgia, and it was then and only then that Lincoln Riley and the OU staff went and turned up the heat on a kid by the name of Caleb Williams. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So let me get this straight, because I would have been just – Caleb Williams, what, 2021 class?
2021 class, yes, sir.
Okay, so I would have been midway through college. So let me get this straight. Oklahoma was going to take Brock Vandegrift, and Caleb Williams would have ended up elsewhere.
Correct. And, here's the thing. As soon as Brock Vandegrift was off the table, the Williams family, Caleb Williams, they already had been, but at that point they certainly were kind of beating down the door to come play for Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, which again goes back to and this, I don't know how firm of a take this is in my own mind. I want to see one more year of verifiable data to this end before I render a judgment. I don't actually think Lincoln Riley is that good at scouting quarterbacks. Consider the quarterbacks that he has taken over the years. And consider that Caleb Williams fell into his lap. That kind of has to be understood here.
Okay.
The one glaring outlier, when you consider all of the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has recruited, the one glaring outlier is Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams would never even have been a conversation within the walls of the Switzer Center if Brock Vandegrift hadn't decommitted and gone to Georgia. Think of all the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has signed over the course of his head coaching career. Tanner Mordecai in 2018.
Yikes.
Spencer Rattler in 2019.
Okay, I actually think Spencer Rattler was pretty good until he wasn't.
He was meh. You know, him and Tanner Mordecai, they actually had very comparable college careers, right? They weren't terrible college careers, but certainly not a legend of the sport. Certainly not.
No.
Yeah, certainly not the type of guy that is going to be remembered long term at any of the institutions that they played at, because they both played at multiple institutions. Rattler at OU in South Carolina and Mordecai at OU, SMU, and Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Chandler Morris in 2020. Chandler Morris is somehow still playing college football.
Yeah, that one's a miss.
Where did Chandler Morris play last year? I've completely forgotten.
Was he not at TCU at some point in time?
He was at TCU. Where did he play last year? I could swear it was North Texas. That's what it was. He was at North Texas last year. So he's going to play his 6th year of college football at Virginia this fall. He has been to OU, TCU, North Texas, and now Virginia. So that's the Chandler Morris experience. Caleb Williams in 2021. Riley did not sign a quarterback in 2022. He just took Caleb Williams with him to L.A. The 2023 class, Malachi Nelson. Yes, indeed. I don't think USC signed a quarterback in 2024. And did they wind up signing a quarterback in 2025? Did they? Because Juju decommitted. I should know the answer off the top of my head. And he tried to get DJ Lagway at the tail end of the 2024 cycle. It was Hassan Longstreet. That's right. They flipped Hassan Longstreet from Texas A&M in the 25 class.
Did he not sign Miller Moss?
He did not.
Okay.
So Miller Moss was actually a member of the same class as Caleb Williams.
Okay, there you go.
So Miller Moss was like lifelong USC fan, Trojan all the way. He preceded Lincoln Riley at USC. So if you look at all of the quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley has scouted, evaluated, recruited, and signed over the course of his head coaching career, find me a solid one not named Caleb Williams.
If you take the scouted part out of it and signed part out of it out of high school, the resume looks a little bit better for Lincoln. Ryan in Jacksonville says, Kyler and Baker were both developed under Lincoln, and it pains me to admit, but yes, he didn't spot them out of high school. And that's where I was going to go with this, is that he may not be the greatest evaluator of high school talent, but he can develop a quarterback. I mean, look what he did with those two that we just named. Look what he did with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, he can. There's no question about that.
He can develop quarterbacks.
He's an offensive genius. Nobody should even try to take that away from him because he is a brilliant offensive football mind. But my point is kind of that he's got to have a good quarterback dropped in his lap because he's not going to go obtain him of his own volition.
And I'll tell you this, too. I think it speaks volumes that Matt Leinert's son, who, by the way, grew up in Southern California, is committed to SMU over USC. Matt Leinart, former USC quarterback.
Did Cole, Matt's son, did he have a USC offer?
Did he? I thought he did.
I thought SMU was like his only real big-time offer.
I can double-check
that. I could be wrong, but
I can double-check that.
Chonky Chuck says, Riley only looks at the consensus top-rated quarterback by the recruiting services and then decides to go for them instead of actually evaluating talent. It could be.
Maybe so.
He did make a hard run at Dylan Raiola. I do recall that. Of course, Raiola ultimately signed with Nebraska, but USC made a run for a long, long time at Dylan Raiola and then kind of pivoted to DJ Lagway down the stretch when they realized that Raiola was going to sign with the Huskers. But Chonky Chuck, that ties in very nicely to the segue here, which is that after Jim Nagy's event in OKC last week, after some of his comments on the Dari Noka show, it's kind of astonishing to me how many folks have voiced something to the effect of, well, this guy Nagy really does think he knows better than everybody else. I'd sure hope so.
I would imagine.
I'd sure hope. The guy's been in the business of scouting for 3 decades now. You would think he has a certain level of confidence in his own abilities, and you would hope he has a certain level of confidence in his own abilities. If Jim Nagy was showing up at the University of Oklahoma going, I don't know. This guy might be good. He might not. What do you guys think? Give me your opinion. You weigh in. That's not the guy you want as your general manager. That's not the guy you want serving as the de facto architect for your roster over the next however many years that he's around at the University of Oklahoma. He's not the guy you want helping to lead your program into the rev share era and whatever the future of college football may bring in the wild times in which we're living. If Jim Nagy wasn't confident in his own abilities, I would have questions as to whether Oklahoma made the right call in hiring him as general manager. And I don't know how this is all going to go. Nagy could be a smashing success. He could be the guy that helps restore Oklahoma to championship contention year in and year out, or he could fall flat on his face. I don't know. Only time will tell. But I'm willing to let it all play out and willing to operate with the belief and the expectation that Nagy actually does know more than the other occupants of collegiate front offices across the sport.
And
because that is why you hire the guy.
And look, he's got good football players committed in the 2026 class. I think we should be past disputing that. Now, the number isn't going to look great. The losses and the players that you have backed off of will certainly raise some eyebrows. But the dudes who are in tow are good football players. To me now, the onus falls on the coaches to go get this team out here to win some ball games. And I know we're going to talk about the visitor list for that Michigan game. Mm-hmm. That's one of those games where you've got to put on a good showing so that you can get closer to making sure all those dudes are locked down, and maybe you can flip some dudes as well.
Ryan in Jacksonville says it's like saying you could land in the Hudson just like Sully because you played Flight Simulator for the last decade after work. Oh, I love the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Keep filling it up, folks. 405-651-3439. But Grayson teased it. We'll talk about it next. This OU-Michigan game on September 6th. This game, it may have the largest list of visiting recruits of any game that I have ever covered at the University of Oklahoma by the time it's all said and done. The amount of high-end 2027 dudes and some 2026ers that have locked in trips to Norman, Oklahoma for OU Michigan is astonishing. We will discuss it next here on The Ref. The home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.
Considering refinancing your mortgage? Now might be the perfect time to start planning. With rates on the move, Stride Bank can help you determine if you may be able to lower your monthly payments, shorten your loan term, or tap into your home's equity. Stride's expert mortgage advisors will work with you to tailor a solution that fits your needs. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe. Oklahoma is no stranger to attacks. It's now easier than ever. If you see something, say something. The free and anonymous Protect OK app allows instant reporting of suspicious activity, both in schools and the community. You can help keep your family and friends safe.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Protect OK.
Download the Protect OK app today in the Apple App or Google Play stores. Funded by the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security.
The wait is almost over, and football is almost back. What better way to celebrate than with the Ref's third annual Gridiron Giveaway? Live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman, just south of Highway 9 on Classen, on July 30th from noon to 7, as we give away 70 different teams from the power conferences. And those lucky enough to get one of the final four finishers in the college football playoff will get one of our 4 grand prizes, including a hotel and showplace theater package from Riverwind, a Ref tailgate package courtesy of Confidence Ford, a brand new smart TV brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, and an OU ticket package courtesy of Jenna King. Even members of the Ref Army who don't get a team still get a chance at one of our many instant prizes, including a PlayStation 5 and a copy of EA Sports College Football 26, courtesy of Cavens Group. That's the Ref's Gridiron Giveaway at Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman on July 30th from noon to 7. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Hands are how we give. Hands are how we receive. To lend a hand and to hand it off. Hands are how we transform and how we redistribute. Our community needs a helping hand these days, and the United Way of Norman is there to offer it. From emergency services to vocational programs to grief counseling for the youth, the United Way connects your gift with the programs that will have the greatest impact on improving the lives of everyone in the community. Make your donation today and raise your hand for your community. Learn how you can give United at unitedwaynorman.org.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Georgia's excellence at everything football related over the last decade or so can be highlighted by its recruiting classes. In the last 10 recruiting cycles, including this one, Kirby Smart and his staff have finished outside the top 3 only once, and that was in 2015 when Georgia had the 5th ranked class. The last decade also featured back-to-back-to-back number 1 classes from 2018 to 2020. Another number 1 class in 2024, and the current number 1 class in the 2026 cycle. If raw numbers don't mean that much to you, the 2019 to 2022 recruiting classes featured 9 dudes who became first-round selections in the NFL. The Sooners currently roster one of the 5 stars Georgia signed in the 2022 class in defensive end Marvin Jones Jr.
Look at that. Nice little connection to bring it back home to the Sooner State.
Come on now.
Good work. Good work. We're having those of you that are listening throughout the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line chime in with your memories of notable OU Georgia recruiting battles on the trail. Drew from Flower Mound chimed in to ask, is Troy Bowles still on Georgia's roster? I've lost track of Troy Bowles. He may still be on the roster, but yeah, Troy Bowles, Todd Bowles' son. He's at Michigan now, actually. He's at Michigan.
That's right.
But Troy Bowles was a guy that in the 2023 cycle, if I'm not mistaken, came down to OU and Georgia. OU made a good hard run at Troy Bowles, but he wound up committing to the Dogs. Just looking through some of Georgia's recent signing classes, it's not a ton of overlap between guys that signed with the Bulldogs and guys that Oklahoma pushed for in the 2025 cycle. I think there's only one guy that Oklahoma was even remotely involved with, and that was 5-star edge rusher Isaiah Gibson, who he was never coming to Oklahoma. He scheduled an official visit at one point. I don't believe he took it. But yeah, there have been some good OU Georgia battles in recent years, quite a few. I tell you, every time I see a piece of news featuring another expert prediction in favor of USC, it feels like the Aaron Paul Breaking Bad gif. He can't keep getting away with this! Because that's kind of the reality right now with Lincoln Riley and USC. Seems like they just keep stacking and stacking and stacking elite talent in the 2026 cycle. And I think we can pretty well figure that it's not going to hold together. We've seen this play out before. But still, it's remarkable to see so many recruits across the country drinking the Lincoln Riley Kool-Aid. And apparently, per Rivals, the Trojans are now trending for 4-star interior offensive lineman Breck Kalaje out of IMG Academy, who had been considering Oklahoma, or I should say is still considering Oklahoma, in addition to Georgia. So that was one that was loosely an OU-Georgia battle, although Miami was still prominently in the mix. I thought it was more of a Georgia-Miami battle than an OU-Georgia battle last few months. But Kalaje was actually the very first official visitor of the 2026 cycle for Oklahoma. He took his OV to OU over the weekend of the Crimson Combine back in early April. And so Kalaje, it looks like, if the current trends hold, is going to be yet another blue chip addition to USC's class.
How do they keep doing this?
And your guess is as good as mine, man. 5-star Gunny Stutzman Army on the text line says, all I see is another decommitment, Parker. I mean, look, you look at USC's class, if for no other reason than sheer size of the class, you figure, okay, there will be some casualties down the stretch, but also we are living in 2025, and it does not appear realistic that USC could accommodate all of these guys on the same payroll, even if they did all want to honor their commitments to USC, because the money that's being, I shouldn't say spent, the money that's being promised out at USC is bonkers. I know some of these numbers have been discussed publicly, some by my colleague Pete Nakos at On3, so I don't mind saying it. Like Mark Bowman, the 5-star tight end from Cali, Texas legacy, committed to USC, I want to say in May, maybe June.
Mm-hmm.
His number at USC is 7 figures, Grayson, and the number doesn't start with a 1.
For a tight end,
For
too.
a tight end, which is not what you would consider a premium position in today's game of football.
Right, and I know this is going to go hand in hand with what we've come to learn about USC's finances, but doesn't that seem like irresponsible spending?
Somebody in the 405 asked, what's Muleshoe doing that Brenton Nagy not doing? We're ranked 41st. This is unacceptable. Well, what he's doing that Brenton Nagy not doing is irresponsibly spending money. Or promising money, I should say, because I'm not convinced any of that money is actually getting spent.
Because we don't even know if it exists.
I think there are hollow promises being made. This is not a conspiracy theory that only exists in my own mind either. This is a very well-held belief across the country. Yeah, what USC's doing is patently unsustainable in advance of December's signing day. So I think everybody is just waiting for the hammer to drop on that USC class. And there will be certain schools, and I do believe Oklahoma to an extent is one of them, that will be ready and waiting to spring if USC loses commits.
Let me present something absolutely potentially hilarious here. And usually I don't participate in the talking you-know-what on certain people, but let's just say this class, 80% of it holds together, which means this class alone is going to be commanding an obscene amount of money. What if USC goes 7-6, but all this money is tied up in players? Where do you get the money to buy out Lincoln Riley?
I don't think that money is there.
What if you're just stuck with a mediocre head coach?
And let me see. Here's the thing. There are a lot of Oklahoma fans out there that are very bitter, very vindictive toward Lincoln Riley to this day, and understandably so, after he left the way that he left. So many people have expressed sentiments along the lines of, I just can't wait to see that son of you-know-what fired. Let me posit this. Wouldn't it be more gratifying to you, the Oklahoma fan, if Lincoln Riley was not, in fact, relieved of duty, but if he just kind of became a lame duck at USC for who knows how long? Because what was that initial contract? 10 years? 10 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, some super long-term contract that they inked him to back in November of 2021 when they hired him to be the head football coach.
Another irresponsible thing.
Like if you absolutely more than anything else want Lincoln Riley to pay his penance for his crimes against the University of Oklahoma, wouldn't you just want him to get stuck in 7-6 hell for 4 or 5 years? as opposed to getting $60 million to go away? Wouldn't that be more gratifying?
Because, Parker, they can't fire him. At least not right now. If that contract goes all the way to 2031 or 2030 and they have a poor, disappointing season this year, they cannot fire him. They're already in debt. Where are they going to get the money to pay his buyout? I mean, this looks like a situation, I'll tell you what, based on his mannerisms too, I don't know if miserable Lincoln is something you want around. Because if Lincoln is miserable, does he not give off that he can just become indifferent to the entire thing? Because he gives off that possibility to me.
You could argue he was indifferent throughout the 2021 season at Oklahoma. I think a lot of folks would say that in retrospect. Doug in Mustang on the text line, not to be confused with Doug in Norman, says Lincoln will lose his job at the same time that Texas Tech decides to move on as well. Calling my shot now, Lincoln Riley is the next coach at Texas Tech. See that? I don't know if you want that. It was kind of like, it was three years ago, it was fun to fantasize about how Lincoln Riley gets fired at USC, just go take an irrelevant job like Texas Tech. Now the Texas Tech job looks anything but irrelevant, right? Mm-hmm. And if they win, fortunately, I think if they win in 2025, which they absolutely should, given everything that they brought in the transfer portal, Joey McGuire is going to have a lot of job security moving forward. And so the timeline on Texas Tech being ready to move on from McGuire is probably lengthened relative to the timeline of Lincoln Riley running his race at USC and moving along to whatever the next opportunity is, whether by his choice or theirs. Chris from Knoxville says, I hope all this spending becomes USC's death penalty. I mean, that is almost what it becomes at a certain point. Right? If you have no money to distribute to portal players to help buttress a weak roster, you have no money to execute turnover on the coaching staff, move on from a head coach if, let's say, the Riley experiment really isn't working after the 2025 season. I mean, that's not a death penalty, but at least for a while it kind of feels like it, because then you're doomed to mediocrity, which is the worst place to be in college football. Being doomed to the realm of mediocrity is worse than sucking for a while, because everything in college football is cyclical, unless you're Rutgers. Everything in college football is cyclical. Nebraska, after close to a decade of irrelevance, looks to be back on the upswing. And you can go on down the list of programs over the years that have encountered choppy waters, if you will. Oklahoma was there in the 90s for most of that decade. And then they turned around and won a national championship in 2000 under Bob Stoops. Everything that happens in college football, for the most part, is cyclical. There is absolutely no light at the end of the tunnel. If you get to the point where, as a program, you are going 6-7, 7-6, maybe 8-5 year in and year out. At that point, you're Kentucky. And what do Kentucky football fans have to look forward to?
Not really much of anything.
Nope.
I'll tell you who's been mired in that, with exception to a couple of outlier years, Texas A&M.
Precisely. Now, I think they're going to be pretty good in 2025. I think Elko's about to get it.
I'm starting to come around to Texas A&M, too, this year.
Trey on the text line with an interesting perspective. He says, I hate Lincoln more than anyone, but he's winning this divorce. There's no way he has the number one class and goes 7-5 in the weak Big Ten.
Well, remember, this class isn't going to have any sort of impact on that this year.
Is the Big Ten weak?
And that's the other thing. I don't know if I would say the Big Ten's weak necessarily.
Lest we forget, Trey, the Big Ten has recently added USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. At least two of those programs. Say what you will about UCLA. They haven't been very good as of late. Washington is 2 years removed from playing for a national championship. Oregon was the number one seed in the college football playoff last year. Let's take a look, just for kicks and giggles, at USC's football schedule in the year of our Lord 2025. They start off with Missouri State and Georgia Southern. They will be 2-0.
Okay.
Then they go to Purdue, probably 3-0. Michigan State, They might be 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the fun begins. Then they go to Illinois. They're not winning that game.
No.
They host Michigan.
Probably
They're not winning that game.
winning that game.
They go to Notre Dame. Forget it. They go to Nebraska. I think they lose that game.
I think they lose it, but there's a chance.
Northwestern could go either way on that one. I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
I don't think they're beating Iowa. I don't think they're beating Oregon. The UCLA game, much like OU Texas, is always a toss-up, regardless of how good those two teams look on paper. Find me more than 7 wins on that USC schedule. I'm begging you.
Unless they're really good and Lincoln Riley has a hell of a coaching season, I can't give it to you.
Chonky Chuck adds, the good news for us Riley haters is that the rest of the nation is seeing that we're not just bitter fans. He actually is just a bad coach who can't coach toughness. Well, at least Benny Wiley and the Kettlebells have taken the traveling circus elsewhere.
And I'm going to say this one last thing, too, about Lincoln Riley as it pertains to Caleb Williams, because that was the genesis of this discussion. There's reports out of Bears training camp that Caleb Williams still is struggling to get the ball out on time and to play within structure and on schedule. When do we start to hold Lincoln Riley culpable of that? Because he let Caleb Williams play a lot of backyard Madden football at USC.
He did, but I think it works for Caleb. It's always worked.
But the thing is, that doesn't work in the NFL.
Doesn't it? I mean, that's what Patrick Mahomes does. That's what Lamar Jackson does. That's what Josh Allen does. Like some of the best quarterbacks in the game. Get away with playing that style of football.
But also, here's the part of Caleb Williams' game that he's missing that those other guys have. They can still hit the layups. They can still execute within a playbook and on schedule when their coach asks it of them.
Fair.
Caleb looks like he's trying to hit all the half-court shots, but can't see the layups. And I think at that point, you got to start wondering, what is Lincoln's scheme like to where Caleb Williams thinks he can just get away with that in the NFL and not learn how to play on schedule? I think at some point, I at least for me, I'm going to hold Lincoln Riley somewhat culpable for that at some point.
All right, folks, we decided to use up our monthly allotted mule shoe segment for the last 15 minutes here. So we will get back on track next. We should have talked about it this segment. It got buried amidst all of your texts and opinions on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. But OU Michigan, September 6th, big visitor list already taking shape. We'll discuss some of the more prominent names that are going to be in town on that weekend and talk about what the implications might be for Oklahoma with a victory over the Wolverines. Keep it here on the Ref. The Home of Sooner fans will be back.
Bleed Crimson? Love great Sooner talk? Join the Ref Army by downloading our free app. Toby and TJ, Plank and Josh, Steelman and Thune, and Teddy and Tyler. We have the Sooner experts. The Ref is home to Sooner fans worldwide.
Whether you're from out of town or live here year-round, Visit Norman encourages you to shop local this summer. Visit Cayman's on Main Street, your one-stop shopping for men's and women's clothing and accessories, designer jewelry, cosmetics, and home decor. Featuring Peter Millar, Johnny O, Rag & Bone, John Hardy, and much more at Cayman's. Wonderhouse Design and Consign for window covering, upholstery fabric, wallpaper, furniture consignment, and more. Locally owned and operated with a constant rotation of new and unique pieces, Wonderhouse Design and Consign is always worth a stop. Grab some friends and head over to Westwood Family Aquatic Center. Don't wait to grab a season pass for exclusive access to all the summer fun Westwood Family Aquatic Center has to offer. Keep the good times going in Norman all summer when you eat, shop, and play local.
Football is almost back, and nobody will have you prepped for the SEC ride in 2025 quite like the home of Sooner fans. With the Ref's SEC Team Takeover, brought to you by lender CDJR. Drop the dog days of summer monotony with 3 straight weeks of the Refs SEC Team Takeover from July 21st through August 8th as we give a full-day analysis on every conference rival in the Sooners' new frontier of the Southeast Conference with the Refs SEC Team Takeover brought to you by Lenders CDJR. When you choose Landers Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram of Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle, you're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. Landers CDJR, where community and commitment drive us forward. That's the Refs SEC Team Takeover. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, and your home to be SEC ready. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. We take our tagline, where Oklahoma gets engaged, to heart. Engagement rings, so many different styles and price ranges. We even have rings that are ready for a proposal this weekend. However, if a custom, one-of-a-kind design is your style, that's our specialty. Natural diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, or colored gems. Let us create her dream ring. Stay in the loop with us on our socials or at mitchells-jewelry.com, or come see us at 2201 West Main in Norman.
Lake Crest Casino and Hotel is the perfect getaway in Ardmore, Oklahoma, where fun, comfort, and entertainment all come standard. Stay in our luxurious 89-room hotel or treat yourself to our resort-style pool with outside bar, enjoy fine dining in our restaurant, or try your luck in our casino. The Oasis Boutique offers something for everyone. Plan your next getaway at Ardmore's newest destination for luxury, excitement, and unforgettable fun at lakecrestcasino.com or call 580-222-2910.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Knippelmeyer here at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA. Conveniently located just 15 minutes south of Oklahoma City and 10 minutes west of Norman. With all the talk of inflation, market crashes, and tariffs, it's no wonder we're all afraid to make that new vehicle purchase. Now, with that being said, there will probably never be a better time to purchase your new Chevrolet at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet. No price increase or tariffs on our huge selection of in-stock vehicles. Pickups, SUVs, cars, and even Corvettes, all marked down and ready to sell. Interest rates are good, used vehicle trade-ins are high, and rebates and incentives are back on most new Chevrolets. So hop in that old vehicle and come see us at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, where nobody beats our deal. Or give us a call at 405-485-3333 or catch us on the web at knippelmeyer.com. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Final segment of Locked In. You're listening to the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. CJ Sooner in Florida says, about time y'all talk some recruiting. 40 minutes of Tebow talk was about to have me change the station. Sheesh. Like I said, we used our one monthly mule shoe segment that we were allotted on this show. Sorry it had to come today, CJ Sooner. Glad you're still with us. Glad you're still interacting on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line of 405-651-3439. As we dive into OU Accruton here, Grayson, I took note of it today when my good buddy Greg Smith, National Midwest Recruiting Analyst for Rivals, put up a note about four-star defensive lineman Luke Starcevich from the state of North Dakota planning a visit to Oklahoma for the OU-Michigan game on September 6th. I was like, man, there are so many elite dudes that are going to be converging on Oklahoma's campus for that OU-Michigan game. I mean, the visitor list is fixing to be huge. Huge. You got a kid coming in all the way from North Dakota, just to pick one example. It's clear the Sooners are taking this seriously as an opportunity to really put something on display in front of some of the elite recruits in the 2027 class in particular. Cooper Hackett has long since locked in a visit to Oklahoma for OU Michigan. Eli Johnson, four-star safety at a Cibolo Steele High School down in the state of Texas, San Antonio area. He's going to be at OU Michigan. There'll be a lot of local guys at OU Michigan. The Sooners have 10 in-state offers in the 2027 class. I need to double check, but I believe Peyton Houston, the Sooners' only quarterback target in the 27 cycle, is also going to show up on campus for that OU Michigan game. I mean, the Sooners, at least in a recruiting sense, feels like they're pushing a lot of chips to the middle of the table with this Michigan game because marquee matchup right between two of the premier brands in college football. It's prime time. It's going to be nationally televised. Evening kick in Norman, Oklahoma. The environment at Owen Field should be raucous. If everything goes according to plan, Grayson, and Oklahoma can win a competitive football game against the Wolverines, they can go play 60 minutes of strong football and beat Sharon Moore's program, then this has the potential to be a real home run on the recruiting trail for the program.
It does. And you may not see those dividends until 2027, 2028, especially with all the 2027 kids that are going to be in attendance. But it gets you started off in a good way. You remember that Florida-Miami game last year, Parker Thune?
I do.
You remember what happened after that game?
What happened after that game?
Remember when the Florida players went up to the Miami recruits?
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And said, "Hey, no, don't go over there." You don't want that to happen. Now, Oklahoma and Michigan are not bitter rivals. They're not in-state rivals, so I'm not sure that will happen. Here's my point, though. With all of those people in attendance that could make an impact on the direction of your program, what you cannot do is lay an egg. Now, could you play competitive football and lose and still leave an impression? Sure. But you can't welcome Michigan and welcome all your visitors and act like you're in a class below. That can't happen. But if you field a competitive team like we all think they will, myself included, and if you give your chance to win the football game, like we all think, myself included, that they could do, you have set yourself up pretty nicely. And you've also set yourself up nicely to have a runway for the rest of the season. Because if they go in there and they look outclassed by Michigan, does that not spell some sort of a bad omen for the rest of the year? So if you just go out there and give yourself a launching pad to the season like this could be, there's more things than just dividends that are left to be paid off in the 2027 class. You could be looking at some short-term success as well.
I mean, I'll say it. I think if Oklahoma goes and beats Michigan in prime time in front of all of the recruits that will be in attendance, I think there will be a few commits that pop. I think there'll be at least a couple guys that ride the wave of momentum and lock in with the Sooners in the 2027 class. I think a guy like Cooper Hackett could absolutely be one of them.
Really?
I do. Like, that kid loves Oklahoma, and I think the same is true. And I don't want to necessarily cultivate the expectation that anything is going to happen in the immediate aftermath of that game, but I definitely see Cooper Hackett and Peyton Houston, for that matter, as two guys that could absolutely pull the trigger in favor of the Sooners based on what happens in that OU Michigan game. If John Mateer rolls for 5 touchdowns and it becomes very obvious against a strong defense the Wolverines are fielding that Ben Arbuckle and Mateer have combined to transform offensive football at the University of Oklahoma and fully turn the page from the atrocity of 2024, I think that's all Peyton Houston has to see at this point.
I think you're making a point that I made a couple of weeks ago. I think that Michigan game is more impactful than the Auburn game. I know you have the Auburn game on a higher pedestal in terms of must-win in this season, and I had Michigan higher. I think you just made that point for me because you certainly, if you think that you can get Peyton Houston and Cooper Hackett to end their recruitments and go ahead and lock it with the Sooners that early in the season, you have made a sizable impression.
Yeah. And I think...
And momentum is a big thing. Go ahead.
No doubt. And I think there does need to be a distinction. Like, I think the Auburn game is more crucial for this Oklahoma football team in 2025 as far as, like, the outcome of their season and the narratives therein. If we're talking recruiting, I don't know if there is a bigger game on the slate this fall than Michigan at that point. At this point, I should say. Like, even OU Texas, because OU Texas is great, awesome experience for all the recruits to take in, but it's in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. You're not getting those guys on your campus Those guys are not in your building.
Yeah.
They're not on your turf, in your territory. It's awesome for them to be able to see one of college football's historic rivalry games in a historic venue like the Cotton Bowl, but it's hard to walk away that much more impressed with the Oklahoma culture and the Oklahoma experience. If you're not in the state of Oklahoma, you might walk away more impressed with the Oklahoma football product and the Oklahoma football machine, but there's a lot more that goes into a decision than, well, is this team good at football?
Yeah, also, but also you get the taste of what a lot of people come to Oklahoma and or Texas for, and that is to play in that Red River game. And I'll tell you what, you can't overlook that game.
No.
Because even if you beat Michigan, if you get shellacked by Texas again, that might quell any momentum that you built from that Week 2 win.
Ryan in Jacksonville says beating Michigan with a strong offensive performance will be more satisfying than Dr. Pimple Popper lancing an abscess. I have no idea who Dr. Pimple Popper
Why
is.
in the hell did you bring that up?
I'm not even really sure I want to know.
Ryan, come on, man. You've never seen Dr. Pimple Popper, by the way?
No, what is this?
Exactly what you think it is.
A doctor who pops pimples?
Yeah, and they made a reality show out of it.
Oh, my goodness. The world we live in, Grayson. The world we live in. A 405 listener asks, is Jake Krell coming to the Michigan game? It's in the works. It's in the plans. It may also be the case that KJ Ford shows up. And, yeah, he's committed to Florida right now.
How do you feel about that commitment?
I don't think his commitment to Florida was the end of the road in the recruitment. Now, I know Oklahoma is pushing to flip him. I don't necessarily view OU as the biggest threat to flip KJ Ford, but they're going to remain in contact with him. My colleague John Garcia at Rivals also revealed last week that the Sooners are still pushing for DeAnthony Lafayette, the 4-star edge rusher out of Orlando, Florida, who committed to LSU over the Sooners. Silent committed to OU while on his official visit. I think what happened is he silent committed to both schools because he publicly committed to the Tigers pretty shortly thereafter. So I know he told the OU staff he was coming, and then he announced in favor of LSU. But the Sooners are going to keep chipping away there, see what happens. I know credible folks in the industry who have said if DeAnthony Lafayette was 6'3" instead of 6'1", this is a guy that would be verging on 5-star territory. Oklahoma thinks very highly of DeAnthony Lafayette, and he also happens to be pretty close friends with Jake Krell. So, look at the class right now on the edge. You got Matthew Nelson out of Bryan, Arkansas. That's great. You got Daniel Norman out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas High. That's great. There's room for one and maybe two more. If it's the right two, I think Oklahoma would absolutely take Krell and Lafayette. I mean, they were willing to take Lafayette's silent commitment, even though it never came to fruition, with the knowledge that they still may be getting Jake Krell down the line. So they'll absolutely take two of the three, Krell, Lafayette, KJ Ford, if two of the three want to jump on board. Oklahoma absolutely has to get one of the three, and I think they will. But there's a world where they could go 2 for 3. And wouldn't it be nice to see Oklahoma pull off one of those late season flips that is typically reserved for a program like Oregon or a program like Texas or a program like USC, a program that is using financial means to broker that transaction more often than not. If Oklahoma could simply just remove a recruit's inhibitions about the program, if there's a guy like KJ Ford or a guy like DeAnthony Lafayette that feels like, I love Oklahoma, I got to see him recover. I got to see him get back on their feet. I got to see them restabilize things. Or else I can't in good conscience commit there. Well, what if that happens this fall in 2025 at Oklahoma? What if the Sooners put those worries and fears to rest for a guy like Lafayette or a guy like Ford? If that happens, Flip City.
Got to win games, though.
When was the last time Oklahoma pulled off a high-profile flip, man? Outside of Peyton, because I don't even really count Peyton Bowen as a flip because he wasn't committed to Notre Dame by the end of that cycle. He was nominally, but think everybody knew going into signing day, Peyton Bowen's not signing with the Irish. All right, folks. We're done. That's it for this Monday installment of Locked In. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, to talk more OU Cruton with you. Tyler McComas and Teddy